Are you receptive, open to acting in alignment, to living in alignment, to desiring in alignment with why you actually came to earth, and what are the lessons and what are the expressions that are most essential to your soul? So in that alignment, in that trust, humility, and receptivity, now your options expand. So then within those options, you can act on your calling miserably, or you can act on your calling joyfully. So within that, there's a lot of ways to manifest your destiny. And one of the core components to understand is hello, y'all. Can you hear me? Great. We have contact. Finally. All right, let's take a few minutes to tune in, become quiet, and then I'll jump straight into the next session, which will be a follow-up on the session from 2 weeks ago. So take a deep breath. And relax. Take another deep breath. And relax. Take one more deep breath and relax again. Wonderful. Be free of any wants for the moment, for this session. Don't want anything. Just so you're nice and calm, you're relaxed, you're present, you're content. You're happy to be here. You're privileged to be here. You deserve to be here. You've created to be here. So let's enjoy this transmission and be receptive to the teachings so they can integrate, they can land for you consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously. And they can meet up with the totality of your beingness. In the previous Bentinho live session, I want to recapture two important elements before we proceed with this one. I'll be brief. And that is mainly the two limiting factors that pertain to your ability to create your own reality, at least at this level of 3D interactive world simulation experience. And again, there's, if you look at the online landscape right now, when it comes to the manifestation teachings, the art of manifestation, changing your beliefs, law of attraction, law of assumption, Abraham Hicks, Bashar, Neville Goddard, and then 1,000+ commentators on all of these teachings, YouTubers, essentially, influencers, and so on. Again, in my view, there's some key component missing in all of that, which gets a lot of people to just sort of rattle around in their own minds and get frustrated with these teachings. Now, obviously, people have great success, and to some degree, perhaps, they find more fulfillment in their life, and that's all great. But often there is a lot of struggle involved. There's a lot of self-judgment involved. There's a lot of performance anxiety involved. Like, if I don't manifest this thing that I want using this technique that I've learned, and then that means I'm not worthy. So some people get into a downward spiral with this kind of stuff, and they just get more and more down on themselves, or they feel less and less worthy of God's love because the thing they think they want, that they're trying to materialize using tons of different techniques and teachings and meditations and sleeping techniques and reprogramming techniques and all that stuff, it just creates this further confirmation that they're apparently not worthy of what they desire. Now, this is not for everyone. Some people just kind of flow through it. And I've already addressed in that session, which if you haven't seen it, you can find in Bentinho Life Library in Massaro University. But essentially, Why that is, generalizing here, but why that is because people are not, first of all, in alignment. They're not in clear alignment with their purpose, their relevance, and their calling in life. Now, without that foundation of humility, of being able to listen to why you came here in the first place, which is not always guided to you in the form of what you think you want. It is guided to you in the form of genuine, pure joy or excitement or inspiration. However, it's difficult to distinguish that for a lot of people because they've superimposed their lack beliefs on top of this, their limiting self-concepts on top of this, and as a result, they want things they don't actually came here to be. So they're not, first of all, clear. They're not, first of all, receptive. They're not, first of all, in humility, in humble unity with why they came here. So if you start out misaligned, you can try all the techniques you want, but all that's going to confirm to you is that you're out of alignment. It's just going to emphasize that to you. It's going to put that in your face. So that's one core component. And then there's these two limiting laws that have a benevolent or benign purpose that I shared, which I'll briefly recapture in this session before we start talking about some of the methodology, like how this works. And so these laws quickly are the law of free will or the law of confusion. This is one limiting factor upon what you can materialize. And again, in short, that means that if you were to perform, let's say, a miracle of sorts, that you were to create an alteration in your life or in your consensus reality with others in this world simulation within consciousness, that in a sense breaches or goes too far to break the laws of what people agree upon, then that would demonstrate something that, for now at least, the collective consciousness hasn't agreed upon as being valid, as being possible. So what that would do is it would force people to change their worldview instead of allow people to change their worldview. And confusion is the differentiating factor between these two. If I take away your confusion and I give you solid evidence of God, for instance, that you are limitless, for instance, then essentially by taking away your confusion, by taking away your, is it possible or not? Does God exist or not? Am I worthy or not? If I take away that confusion by shoving a miracle down your throat, so to speak, like putting it in your face, demonstrating physically to your senses, to your doubting mind, to your doubting Thomas, to your skepticism, to your realism, to this Newtonian concept that holds you back, then you have no choice. You have to believe that God exists. You have to believe that all things are possible. I've now forced you to change your worldview, you see. And the same applies to you guys. If you're demonstrating things, if you're using law of attraction or law of assumption in a way that would almost physically demonstrate that the limitations we collectively agree upon are not real. You take away confusion, and therefore you actually infringe upon people's free will and the purpose behind that veil of confusion, which is to learn on your own 2 feet, in a sense. Obviously, never truly without source, never without God, but within the illusion of, I've got to figure this out. I have to come to my own conclusions. I have to do my own research. I have to follow my own heart. Will I have faith or will I be skeptical? Will I have faith or will I be skeptical? And so on. So, the law of confusion is the first of those 2 limiting factors when it comes to manifestation that we need to appreciate and honor if we wish to flow with it and not internalize a lack of manifestational capacities negatively upon ourselves. Now, this one is less common because people generally don't think so much in terms of, hey, I want to perform miracles that blow people's minds. Some people have that, but a lot of people are more interested in, hey, I just want to manifest this house. And no one's going to think twice about why you did that, or no one's going to suddenly believe in God just because you got the house you wanted. That's unlikely. And if they do, that was out of their free will. It wasn't you forcing something upon their consciousness that breaks their paradigm. It was within their paradigm. You materialized the house you wanted, or the car you wanted, or the relationship you desired. And so it doesn't breach that law of confusion, which applies more to the collective, this collective playing field. So the other limiting factor that's more relevant for you, that's more at play, that you have to take into consideration when it comes to desiring a change in your life or desiring an upgrade in your state of being, and consequently in what you attract to yourself. And that is the rule, law, or parameters of relevance or purpose. For you as an individual, mostly. This can also apply collectively, but mostly this is about what is relevant for you. And again, this comes back to, are you in alignment with why you came here? Or are you trying to fight with why you came here? And you're trying to materialize your way into what you think you want, but it's actually upstream against your soul's true calling. So if you're going against your own directive from quote unquote higher up, that deeper consciousness, which is not affected by the veil of confusion in that sense, or it's not affected by forgetfulness at least, doesn't have those limitations. It knows clearly what you are. But if from this level you try to fight that purpose, or you try to materialize things that would misguide you away from that true alignment, then you will get a lot of pushback from your creation. When you try to materialize things, manifest things, clarify things that are not meant to materialize for you or clarify for you, because would they clarify for you or would they materialize for you, they would take you in a different direction, or they would not correct you to be back in alignment. So again, this is why it's a apparently limiting factor, but it's actually a benevolent guiding principle. And a lot of the YouTube manifestors, they're not so concerned with this. They think that whatever you think you desire is your highest calling. And rarely is that actually the case. That's only the case if you're very clear within yourself, if you've cleaned out most of your biases and unconscious negative belief systems. And yes, then if you're receptive, if you're attuned, if you're of a high vibrational nature already, then you can clearly distinguish what is actually guidance, what is actually beneficial for you and others as a holistic whole, because it's all one, versus what do you think you want because you didn't get this when you were a child, or you're deprived of something in your own way of articulating to yourself the consequences, the circumstances of your life. If you define them negatively and lack-based, you're going to produce a desire for the opposite, which is good. It can propel you forward onto the seeking journey, but you're not always going to get what you think you want because it's coming from a compensatory, needy place. That's first of all not in alignment with why you're actually here. All right, so alignment to your calling, to your relevance, to your purpose, and the law of free will, aka the veil of confusion, needs to be honored. If you understand those two, there's some nuances, more nuances to that, but essentially, if you are willing to be in alignment with those and listen to those and obey those, in a sense, then within those parameters, if you're actually acting on your relevance, on your calling, on your purpose, and you're appreciating, you're aware of this sort of limitation on the miracle factors, then within that, within those parameters, the sky's the limit. And you can start developing this ability to call into being, which is really what it is. It's calling something into being. Essentially, whatever you desire. But then again, where does whatever you desire come from? And you will find that if you are truly living your relevance and purpose, you will not be desiring much at all. You'll just desire more of that. So that's why alignment is so crucial. But if you are in alignment, then you can definitely upgrade your consciousness. You can basically become a better cooperative, co-creative, receptive component of your own journey. And then you can avoid going against your own highest guidance, which is what people experience. Even masters of manifestation. Oh, everything always comes so easily to me. I think of this red, beautiful car and I have it the next week. Awesome, great. Essentially, it works that way for everyone. However, even those people that seemingly are very good at materializing, things quickly. If they have a desire or want that somehow does go against their purpose or relevance in life, they will struggle just as much with that particular thing. And this is why you often see people say, and I've mentioned this in that other session, I think, like this and this and this goes smoothly for me. This aspect of my life, this topic in my life, these things just sort of come and I'm happy with them and they flow with me and there's this natural symbiotic flow to it. I only have to think it and it kind of shows up or it upgrades. But then there's this one topic in my life that just doesn't happen. There's this one topic that I'm struggling with. Why is it so easy with these topics and why is it so not granted to me with this topic? And it's simply because you're in your egotistical state and you're oblivious to what is proper for you, what is actually in your highest relevance. And you're trying to argue with that by claiming that that is what you want. But actually you're coming from a needy place. That's why usually that one thing that doesn't work is either money or relationship for most people. I'm super generalizing, but you'll see that the common denominator of what people struggle most with to materialize, it's not going to the movies, or it's not like, even like things like manifesting a car, for instance, or other mundane or little things. But when it comes to the things you think you really want, like more money, or that special kind of relationship, those are some of the most common themes that people then struggle against, even if other things come easily to them. And this is because they're coming from an insistent upstream point of view. They're going against the stream of their guidance. They insist that they don't have this, and they insist that something is lacking, and they insist that that thing, that symbol, that person, or that purse full of money, that will make them whole. And that insistence, if you were granted the manifestation to that lack belief, that compensatory desire that you think is an actual authentic desire but is not, if you were granted that by your own higher self, by just calling it into being, you would be worse off than you are without that. You would be misguided. You would be guided away from your calling in life, from your highest purpose, and then at the end of your life, or during your life review afterlife, you would regret it. You'd be like, damn it, why did I give that to myself? Because the moment I gave that to myself, I gave up on this and this and this and this. Or I got distracted from this and this and this and this. Or I stopped making that the priority of my life. The seeking, the calling, the service to others, the teaching, and so on. It would have been a distraction had you gotten what you seemingly struggle to manifest. So I hope those parameters make sense. I think they do. And with that in mind, again, the key summary of that being, are you receptive, open to acting in alignment, to living in alignment, to desiring in alignment with why you actually came to Earth, and what are the lessons and what are the expressions that are most essential to your soul? Or do you just want what you want and you don't really care about your soul's purpose? If so, you're going to struggle. If you are receptive to this, willing to humble yourself in that way, listen, and give up the desires that you're struggling with, that are going upstream, and trust in the bigger flow of things. Prefer why you are here over what you think you want. If you can do that, sky's the limit within those parameters. All right, I took some notes prior to the session. Just some touch points that I wish to explain. I finished the session from 2 weeks ago with a brief introduction on one of the most direct and powerful understandings when it comes to how you create your reality and how you attract the shape and form and flavor of your purpose. Because you can act on your calling miserably, or you can act on your calling joyfully. that is up to you. But act on your calling, or at least be consistently guided by yourself to remember your calling and act on your calling, is going to be inevitable. That's why you can't fight against it. It's going to narrow your options to focus your mind on why you're actually here. And the sooner you embrace that, the sooner your options expand once again. Because you're listening. You're now a cooperative agent of your own soul's purpose. You're not against it. You're not an antagonistic rogue agent that wants what it wants. So in that alignment, in that trust, humility, and receptivity, now your options expand. So then within those options, you can act on your calling miserably, or you can act on your calling joyfully. So within that, there's a lot of ways to manifest this, to manifest your destiny. And one of the core components to understand is I am ... So whatever you add to I am, you are basically establishing yourself in. You are assuming that as your truth, as your identity. And that's mainly what I want to elaborate on in this session, which I titled Assumptions Harden into Facts, which is actually a quote by Neville Goddard, but I find it a very refreshing and clear and clean and powerful quote, so I used it for the title. But obviously I'll explain it in my own ways and in alignment with the holistic framework of everything else that I teach. So, assumptions harden into facts. I think it's a fun statement because you have an assumption about something which is intangible in the way that we Newtonianly perceive things to be tangible. It doesn't have you can't pick it up. It doesn't have properties like that. It's not a physical thing. So it's something intangible, to the senses at least. At its own level, it's very tangible. It's a real thing. Just like at a physical level, this phone is a real thing. But at a subtle or causal level, a thought form is a real thing, or an assumption is a real thing. So assumptions are real things, but they're not hardened as we perceive them. So if we adopt a different assumption, if you assume something differently from how you have assumed something regarding a particular topic or aspect of your life, now that shift in assumption, and I'll explain more of how else you can understand what an assumption is. But just briefly, if you shift that assumption, then the way that this will infiltrate into your physicalized experience will be as if this assumption now hardens into a fact, or what we call facts, right? I mean, the assumption is already a fact, but from a physical point of view, an assumption is not a fact. Only what materializes is a fact, or considered a fact. So assumptions harden into facts basically explains we go from subtle to gross, or from subtle or refined, or from metaphysical to physical and obvious and tangible to the senses. That's essentially what it means that assumptions harden into facts. So we want to be aware of what our assumptions are, and we want to, perhaps even more importantly, learn to play with this mechanism. Because the freer we get, the freer we become, the more capable, malleable, fluid we become with our ability to assume new things, we will then generate the evidence that our minds need to believe that this actually works. That the power lies in very effortless shift in assumption. It doesn't lie in all those techniques, it doesn't rely on all your physical work or labor. It relies on a shift in what you assume is true. So the more you learn to play with that, without the fear of consequence, without the fear of performance anxiety, like, oh, I'm going to try this once, and if it doesn't seem to work, I'm going to judge it as negative, and then I'm going to internalize that as I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, this doesn't work. You got to give it some time. You got to give it some play time, some air time. You got to play with it. But the more fluidly, the more playfully you become able to assume different things at a subtler level within yourself. And I'm going to explain several ways on how you can do this and how this operates. But if you can become more playful with this, you will start to see effects in your real life. And this will give your conscious mind the confidence to continue to play with that. And the more free you are and the more convinced you are that you can alter things through mere assumption, then what happens is victim consciousness will start to dissolve. And when victim consciousness starts to dissolve, your presently held assumptions become also easier to investigate, to acknowledge, to accept, to forgive, and to change, or to simply transcend and let go of. But if you don't give yourself this confidence, this evidence, that by shifting what you assume to be true actually produces matter, that your state of being, your attitude produces matter, alters matter. If you don't give yourself enough evidence of this, if you don't play enough with this, it's going to be challenging, even when you do investigate your assumptions, to change them because you believe they are solid, because you believe they are real, heavy things that have been with you forever. But when you start playing with it, even if you don't touch your core negative beliefs yet, even if you continue to assume that for a while, without really investigating it, but you start playing with new assumptions that still honor why you are here, that are in alignment, that are humble. They are humble, powerful, new, upgraded assumptions that include the whole. They're not just about boosting yourself and showing off to others. They are humble, true, they are holistic. They keep the whole in mind. They are also of service to others. If you begin to assume new things, you will start to see new effects. And this will free up, this will start to melt those sort of ice-like crystalline structures of beliefs into causal and subtle bodies, which then allows you to change your reality, which first of all allows you to feel freer from victim consciousness and more powerful as a creator. So it's a good package deal. So obviously, yes, investigate your core beliefs. What am I assuming is true right now to be materializing this pattern, this cycle that keeps seemingly repeating itself, or this limitation in my life? What am I assuming is true that might be at the cause of that? Obviously, go ahead, investigate that. But also, I want to say that when you learn to simply play with new convictions and you start to see evidence of that, that will help you, retrospectively almost, to loosen up those lack beliefs, a lot of which are simply things you assume because you don't see the evidence of your power in the world. So if you do start seeing the evidence of your power in your world, then those beliefs already start to loosen up, even without investigating them or trying to change them. Because a lot of these victim ideas are about, I'm here, this limited physical little Newton's daughter or son, and the apple falls from the tree because of gravity, and that's my life, and I can't change it. So you want to sort of simultaneously investigate what you currently believe, but don't get hung up on that. Start also generating new evidence that what you assume becomes fact. May not always happen for you, and again, why? It's because of these two limiting factors mainly. Can also be because you just have a negative belief and you're not actually assuming that new thing yet. So then move on to a different topic. If you're trying to assume something positive about your finances, but you have a really strong assumption about that is negative about your finances, then you're just going to put yourself in this struggling state. You're not going to generate the evidence you want to gain confidence to then loosen up that belief about money, right? So play with the topics that you don't have a strong anti-belief against, for starters. That will make it easier to uproot, to dissolve, to heal, to forgive, to let go, to release, to transmute the beliefs that you do really have an attachment to and that you do really believe in. So give yourself confidence, give yourself evidence in things that don't matter to you that much yet, that you don't have a negative antagonistic idea about. And it could be the most random things. Like we did one exercise, I think, a few sessions ago. Maybe this was in NLS, I don't quite remember. But the idea was, picture yourself holding this reddish, yellowish apple in your left hand. Now, who gives a damn about that? Nobody. That's why it's easy. It's easy to manifest that because it doesn't matter. It doesn't go against your purpose. You're not insisting upon it. You're just for a moment assuming that in the next few days, you'll suddenly catch yourself, you'll witness yourself having this apple in your left hand that is of a reddish, yellowish color. So by assuming things like that you don't have any negative beliefs about, you can develop that confidence. You can generate evidence for yourself that this is not a physical world. It truly is a materialization of your own consciousness. And that will then in turn help you to not feel like a victim as much and to loosen up those deeper beliefs and so on. So you got to develop some momentum in a positive direction, in a reinforcing, confidence-inspiring direction. And as long as it's receptive and it's honorable of why you come here, why you came to Earth, and why, which always has a component of service to others to it. It's not just about you and that house and that Ferrari. It always has a strong component of sharing, of service, of radiating, of teaching, of revealing, of sharing with others, of enjoying together, of growing together, and so on. So if you incorporate that element into your manifestations, into your assumptions, you're more likely to not be picking an assumption that will go against your purpose, that will guide you off stream. So if you don't know what to think about something that has to do with service to others. Doesn't mean you cannot enjoy that. Doesn't mean it cannot come in the form of you're renting a Ferrari for a week to get to the event where you're sharing with others. You could do that. But you see, at least incorporate some strong component in your desire that has something to do with service to others, even if you don't quite yet know how to formulate why you came to Earth. Maybe you don't quite yet know what your purpose is exactly. Then make sure that you include an element of service to others, and I guarantee you, you will be closer in alignment to your calling already in that desire or in that assumption. So you'll see greater success because you're not picking something random, useless that goes against your stream. So service to others, powerful component to this, will help you in your own manifestations, I promise. Okay, and now I want to talk about the way to manifest. Essentially speaking more in a different way about this idea of assuming something. What is it really? And I also want to contrast it to a lot of the other methods that are out there. And I want to show you the power of this and the benefit of this and the streamlinedness of this and the holistic nature of this and the alignment factor in it. So again, that you don't go against God, you don't go against your own self, which is the worst state to be in. So I really want to avoid that trap for you. I want you to be an effortless manifester, co-creator that is in alignment with their calling, of service to others in whatever they desire, and things then come easily to you. I want you to be in a flow state when you're materializing things, not against it, not insistent. That's why I'm emphasizing these elements so much. But the power here, the real power lies in you decreeing something to be so or so. Another word for that would be to declare. Another, maybe more erroneous or conflated idea is to command. But command can come more with an egoic sense. But once you've cleared that out, command is a powerful tool. You can command something to be true, and it will then harden into fact. It will then show up in your life. So, but I like the word to decree, to make a statement, to make a declaration, to decree that something is true. The reason this is so powerful is because it transcends space, time, linearity, causality, and even it transcends what you currently believe is true and how you currently feel. Because if you look at a lot of the manifestational techniques, they're all about what you feel and what you believe. And they're sort of in this box of space and time. How and when things are going to happen, the impatience factor, which all comes from the resistance to your own calling, which we don't want to do. We don't even want to enter that world. Trust me, you don't want to enter that world. Some of you already have tried, so you'll agree with me. And if you don't, then you just have high tolerance for suffering, struggle, and stupidity. But those who have dabbled in it will know that this is not the way to go. So let's avoid it right out of the gate. Let's not promote this right out of the gate because it won't serve you, my friend. Trust me. So, ego aside for a second, okay? When you're trying to understand this, ego aside. Whatever you think you want, Assume you don't know anything right now. Be open to your true guidance. And then we can understand how manifestation works. And then we can ride that wave and we can surf along with the wave and not against the wave.
Massaro University is a vibrant online community dedicated to accelerating your awakening and activating your purpose for the benefit of all. Join live sessions with Bentinho and workshops led by experienced facilitators. Deepen your wisdom, empowerment, and self-knowledge, and experience life-changing shifts week after week. At Massaro University, finding like-hearted seekers is easy and inevitable. Lifelong friendships and a shared purpose fuel profound personal and collective growth. Create your free account today at massaro.university and step into a community that's designed to elevate every aspect of your life.
When you decree something, which essentially is as simple as claiming a truth, stating that something is true. Anyone can do this. You can do this with your words, for starters. It'll become more powerful, more potent, more clear, more clean, more immediate over time with practice. But you can say that something is the way that it is, or that the way that you are guided to say that it is. And when you make such a statement, when you declare that something is true, the energy of that transcends space, time, linearity, causality, belief, and feeling. This is why it's such a liberating way of materializing things, because you don't get in your own way, you don't get in your own head. Meaning, you don't even have to change how you feel about that topic. You don't have to change your negative belief. So I want you to learn to appreciate that the lightest touch can have the biggest impact, whereas that heavy lifting that you're doing with your belief systems and you're changing how you feel about something, and all of that is not nearly as powerful, and it causes this struggle, which is actually detrimental to you paying attention every day and asking God, why am I here? Which is so much more powerful than, why is this red Ferrari not in my driveway yet? Oh, what must be wrong with my thinking? Let me try another technique. It's a horrible state to get into. Whereas if every day you prioritize, you ask God, source, yourself, why am I here? And you start walking in the footsteps that are destined for you. Now, again, your options expand. And now you can decree that this shall be so. And as long as it is within the parameters of your purpose, your relevance, and it doesn't infringe upon the free will and the confusion of others, it shall happen. Unless you really, really strongly doubt it. But this is why you want to gain some practice with it. And the more practice you get with it, the more evidence you get for it, the more simple and light touch, just a little change in assumption, just a decree, and that's it. Boom. And it will happen. So when you decree something, it's different than trying to change your feeling about something. So I encourage you guys for the next 2 weeks to play with this. Performance anxiety free, which is coming from your ego. Trust that you will get some evidence in these 2 weeks. You will generate some evidence. And even if you don't worry about it. Continue this new way of thinking. Continue to understand the power of decreeing that something is so, and then therefore it is so. Not therefore it shall be, therefore it is so. It transcends space and time. And you got to understand this factor, that it transcends space and time, because it allows you to not go look for evidence. It seems like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not. I'm saying, yes, it is valuable for you to get evidence because it will give you the confidence to remember you're not a victim. You're actually a co-creative, exciting spark of the Creator, and the power of God ultimately is your power. They're not separate. My only parameter or condition is that you walk as clearly as you can, as humbly as you can, in the footsteps of your true destiny, which has always got something to do with serving the whole. As long as that parameter is in place, I'm telling you, I'm decreeing, the power of God is your power. As long as it honors these two limiting laws, which are benign, empowering laws, for the purpose of everyone learning appropriately and quickly, efficiently. But if you decree something, yes, you will get the evidence that will empower you, but the way to do that is to not look for the evidence. Not to wait for the evidence. You can observe the evidence when it happens. You can be attentive. Oh, hey, wait a second. I just had that thought 2 days ago. And there it is, which often we miss, by the way. There's already a plethora of evidence in your life right now that proves, that confirms over and over and over again, against all mathematical laws of probability and chance, that you are consistently creating your reality. So be attentive to the evidence that's there. I'm just saying, because that will give you greater confidence, I'm just saying don't look for evidence in the way of waiting, of making your creation dependent on that evidence. Because now you go back to your state of beliefs and feelings, which is lower than the state of declaring, decreeing, knowing it is so, which is the lightest touch. Doesn't require any work. You don't need to work on yourself. For once, I'm telling you, you don't have to work on yourself. So you just decree something. Just decide something that resonates for you, that seems to be in alignment with service to others and your calling and why you are here, that seems to be supportive of it. Declare that and watch it happen. And the thing about it is, again, the space-time thing that I want you to get, that it's not a linear phenomenon. That when you, okay, so picture space-time as sort of a fabric. It's a level, it's a dimension of creation, where the playing field, the game is about causality. You do this with your body, and this is the result. You go to work, you get your paycheck, then you buy your Ferrari, whatever it is. So causality, that exists within a certain domain of illusion, space, time, causality. Because of that framework, you believe in a lot of things. Chef believes in feelings and so on. Limiting, usually. But understand that when you say that something is so, it doesn't just land on deaf ears. Anything that you say and think and insert and decree is heard by existence, just not within the framework of space and time and linearity and causality. But it has been created. So when you decree powerfully, just for one moment, you don't have to repeat this even, but when for one powerful moment, you put all your beliefs and feelings about something aside, you completely disregard how you feel about a topic in your life, whether it's finances, relationship, your calling, your purpose, what you're worthy of, all that. You just shove it aside for a powerful 10-second window. And you declare that something is so. Period. No discussion. Not with you, not with anybody, not with nothing, not with God. You say that it is so. You command it. You decree it. It is so. You do that. It now exists. You have now called it into being. It is now fact. You might not see it in your limited physical time-based frame. But what you got to understand is that it exists nonetheless. It is already accomplished. Truly, it is accomplished. It doesn't matter whether you see it. Don't argue with your senses. Don't get sucked into your senses, your beliefs, and your feelings. Who cares? You are creator. Say that this is true, and it is so. The power of this is that now you won't get sucked in to those processes about it. This is the effortless path, you see. Yes, it requires a powerful moment, but that's it. It doesn't require heavy weightlifting. It's just you saying, I am now big and powerful and strong, as opposed to going to the gym every day for 2 hours to get there. You get the difference? It's a declaration. And then you can doubt it again the next moment. Doesn't even matter so much. Now, ideally, you maintain access to that level beyond space and time where you know it is done. And that will give you the power, the energy, the state of being to then not be suckered in by beliefs and feelings and ideas and old assumptions and so on. So even those things can arise, those things that sort of tend to grab you by your gut. It's like, yeah, but you're not worthy. And all you do, you don't try to sort it out. You just go, this is old news. And you allow yourself to even feel that. Allow your body as if it's somebody else. You say to yourself, oh, cool, here's that lack belief again. Oh, I feel unworthy again. Oh, I disbelieve in the declaration I just made. And you don't care about that. You let that be so. Doubt your manifestation all you want. Just know that because you declared it with powerful intent, it is so in existence. Don't need to see it. You don't need to know how. You don't need to know when. You don't even need to know if. Maybe it will never manifest in your physical space-time frame reference. I want you to find solace and certainty and conviction in the knowingness that because you decreed it with intent, it is already in existence. It is called into existence. It is real. And then you go about your day. And you ideally even never think about it again. You don't have to think about that declaration. You don't have to keep it in mind. You don't have to repeat it to yourself every night before you fall asleep. You have already declared it. It is now into being. You called it into existence. You are creator. Don't try to find it in your reality. Don't go looking for it. And in 9 out of 10 cases, whatever you declared shall manifest in some way, shape, or form, even within your space-time causal illusion, if it follows those limiting laws of relevance, purpose, if it honors the law of purpose, and if it honors the law of confusion, aka the free will of others and yourself. So that's how simple it is. And it's effortless because it allows you to just focus your life not on what you can get, but on why you are here. How liberating is that? That you don't have to worry about what you can get for yourself, how you can take care of yourself, how you can materialize things for yourself, how you can ensure of your future. You've given that all away to God. You know that it is intrinsic in following your calling, that is a complete system of provision, that whatever you truly need, you will get if you act on your calling. So that's all you have to worry about then, is who are you being right now? Is who you are being in alignment with why you are here? Is it the love, light, radiance, freedom of expression, adventure, heroism, courage, honor that you came to radiate and explore and learn through? If not, then yeah, do some state of being work. Remind yourself of why you are here. But that's got nothing to do with your ability to call things into being. That's a completely separate domain. So go to that domain, learn to go to that domain, and 10 seconds at a time usually is enough. You just split the ocean of space and time. You don't give a fuck about it. You don't care at all about anything you've ever believed, about anything about yourself or the world or life or what's true, what is possible. You split that ocean of doubt. And in that vacuum, in that healthy distance from your assumed self, you insert a decree. You decree that this is so. And as long as it's an holistic intention and desire, and it's in alignment with your purpose, it shall come about. But again, you need to know that because you decreed it, it now exists in existence, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to bring it into your experience. But who likes this? Who wants this? The person who wants the Ferrari next week, they're not going to like this approach. They're going to struggle. They're going to suffer. They're going to struggle upstream of their own calling. But you guys are different. You trust my guidance on this. You don't have to go through that whole phase. Not as much anyway. You have to get misguided for 10 years, only to then try to recapture why you were actually here, because you were insistent and egotistical. Trust me, it's not worth it. So, every day prioritize, why are you here? It's such a fruitful question. And then act accordingly. Be in the state of being that is commensurate with, that is an energetic match to why you came here. That's all you need to know. Isn't that simple and liberating? That's all you need to focus on to take care of yourself. You don't have to take care of yourself beyond that. You will be taken care of by that whole system. It's intelligent, it's holistic, it's essentially infinite, it's connected to every other aspect of creation. It knows far better than you could ever think of taking care of yourself. So you just got to be open and humble. Take the challenges as they come and ask yourself, why am I here? What do I want to learn from this? And how do I want to give back? Walk that path and you are free in the simplicity of following in the footsteps of your own destiny. And then occasionally, when some inspiration comes to mind and you notice you have some limiting beliefs around it, you take a powerful moment of sheer will and faith where you say no to everything that you think and believe, to that whole world of causality that the senses fool you in every single day, and you part the ocean of doubt. And in that vacuum, you insert the decree of what inspired you. And you don't let any doubt touch it for those 10 seconds. You say that it is so. Now you've called it into existence. And the ocean can collapse again, can do its duty. It can appear the way that it does. It can challenge you. You can think, you can fear, you can believe, you can feel. Doesn't matter. You've created a crack in the matrix for long enough to insert something, to call something into being. It now exists. That's all you need to know. You don't need to worry about the hows, the whens, the whys, the ifs or if nots. All you need to worry about is, why am I here every day? And how can I be more attuned to that? How can I elevate my consciousness to become a pure vessel of the qualities, the learning, the exploration that I'm truly here for? If you live honorably like that, honorable to yourself, then all things shall nurture and support you, and then the options open up, and then you can become a more powerful creator by using this technique or this law of assuming, of decreeing. And it will then harden into fact more and more, and you'll see more and more evidence of how effortless it truly is. This is related to the power of no. A lot of people say you should avoid the word no. I love the word no. The universe doesn't hear no. In some ways, this is true because it only hears what you're radiating. But no radiates a powerful yes to something. It's just none of the bullshit currently around you. So when you say no to the bullshit currently around you, which includes inside of you, which is still outside of you from the perspective of what you truly are, from your soul's perspective, every single psychological process that you have, belief system, inner little feeling, oh, but this, but that, it's all the outer world. It's got nothing to do with what you are. It's not your inner world. No, that's still your outer world. To consciousness, everything you feel and think and believe is the outer world. It's only to the thoughts and the feelings and the mind and the believer that it seems to be the inner world, and that what's out there physically is the outer world. But to the soul, to the real consciousness within you, thoughts, emotions, feelings, beliefs, assumptions, and the world they manifest is all the outer world. It's within its own essence. It's produced out of its own energy. So in that sense, it's unified, it's one, it's inseparable from consciousness as its source and its substratum. Things cannot be, thoughts, emotions, feelings, but also physical matter, cannot be without consciousness. So it's unified. But in terms of identity, it doesn't identify thoughts as being inner and this car passing by as being outer. Both of it is outer. Both of it does not actually enter the soul identity. Okay, so when you say no, if you say no in the proper way, you're saying this massive yes to instant alignment, truth, power, freedom, wholeness. So I want you to use the word no deliberately and powerfully, and save it only for a few occasions, a month, for instance. At least for starters, unless you really understand this power of no. Then you can use it every day for everything, and it'll be the most liberating tool ever. If you say no to everything, literally everything with deliberate intent, you keep saying no. Absolutely freaking not. No access. What do you think would happen? Where do you think your consciousness is taken to? If you deny everything, you say no, you deny access to everything. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, other people, physical experiences. Remember, what's unreal never existed, and what's real can never die. So if you say no to everything that you can register with your senses, with your mind, with your consciousness, what remains has to be real. In India, they call this approach neti neti. It essentially means I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. And you keep saying no. It's essentially what you're doing. You say, I am not this. You're basically rejecting everything you can possibly think of or experience. And by continuously doing that, no, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that, you very quickly transcend your own little, I'm this little victim in the world and I want my red Ferrari and I'm not getting it and like, where's my boyfriend? Very quickly, you're like, what the fuck was I doing? I was assuming the identity of a helpless little worm. While I'm this infinite power, what was I thinking? And you happily smack yourself in the face. And there's no anger about that. There's just like a what the hell, never again. And then you tend to do it again. But that's the path, I suppose. But you get the idea. When you say powerfully, just say no, even to yourself. And people are so afraid of this. Usually, not you guys, but most people are so afraid of this. In the whole New Age empowerment world, this is what I want. I'm working on my manifestations. I'm a spirit on a purpose. And like, I don't, I'm not a body. I have a body. I am a soul. And like, but don't talk to me about this. Like, this is who I am. And I need to maintain it. And don't you, everything else can be investigated, but not this spiritual sense of self. No, this is really who I am. Don't touch it. No. This is supreme. This is sacred. But if you say no to even that, because you're still playing like you're this tiny little worm, except now you have all the colors of the rainbow and you grow some kind of a fucking unicorn thing out of your forehead and you call it your third eye. It's wide open and the special oracle cards and they're all coming together and they're showing me my purpose. Oh, fuck, it's Mercury retrograde. That's why I feel this way. If you say no to that, you have an opportunity to transcend yourself. Find out what's actually really, really real about yourself. This will liberate you. So learn to powerfully say no to all the bullshit within you and around you. Same thing from the soul's perspective. It's all around itself. It's like this shield. It's like this paper bag with all these little thought forms on it. You're surrounded by bullshit, including your thoughts, emotions, feelings, beliefs, identities, what you're protecting about yourself, how unsafe you think you are, what you think you need. All these things is like this crackly little paper bag around your soul. If you say no to all of that, just burn through it, even in one powerful moment of 10 seconds of absolute conviction, being absolutely done with all the BS. No more nonsense. You say no. Wow. The peace, the vastness, the immortality, the inconquerability that naturally is revealed. Can't buy that. You can't manifest that by some kind of a method. But you see, this is related also on a smaller scale. When you decree something, you're essentially saying no to everything else that's not that. Vice versa, if you learn to powerfully conjure up this energy, it's like a surge of energy, and it almost resembles anger or frustration, or at least that's how it can start sometimes. Because if you're not frustrated, if you're not angry sometimes, if you're not fucking pissed off, then there's no transformative fire, there's no alchemy. You're just going to be complacent and tolerant and very slowly, as this worm, move your way through process after process. Oh, relapse. Okay. Process. Oh, relapse. Process. Oh, nice meditation. Oh, relapse. Process. You don't want that, no? You're a cosmic being. of infinite strength, power, potential. Why play small? Don't assume a small identity ever. Your mind can. Don't care about that. You decree that's not so. You decree you are powerful and infinite. And then you believe whatever you believe. Who cares? It's all on the periphery. What's true is what you decree, what you know to be true. And that will shape your life. That will reinform your mind, your causal body, your subtle body, and your physical experiences. So when you powerfully say no to something, it could be a person in your life, but mostly it is an idea within your mind. Something that has been lingering, this doubt, this pattern of insecurity, of victimization, of making other people wrong. And suddenly you grow mature enough to see how nasty that was. And you've had enough of it. Frustration bubbles up. It conjures up this powerful energy, this search of will. Enough is enough. And this energy clears your whole system. And you declare no. This 1,000,000-mile high sign that covers the entire freaking planet. The sun can read it. It says no. Enough. Enough with the bullshit, with the sinning, with the patterning, with the weakness, with the falseness, with the fakeness, with the manipulation. No. That's you saying yes to everything that was frustrated about that bullshit. And so that frustration turns into sheer power and love and compassion and freedom and patience and transcendence, beyondness. So don't avoid the word no. Just use it powerfully and wisely. One of the most powerful words in all of your human life, your existence, it's no. Because it's a yes. It's just another way of saying yes to truth, to clarity, to empowerment. But sometimes you got to shake off the bullshit with a no to channel your yes powerfully into being, to decree that. Let's see if I had more notes here. Right, so the power of no and the powerful act of declaring something, simply decreeing it, this will shape your state of being, which will affect how you feel about things and yourself, which will affect what you attract or create. Learn to decree with power in a moment, yet no effort. So will and power, but no effort. There's a difference, huh? You can will something, like that frustrated moment that then gets channeled conducively, appropriately, wisely, and lovingly into a constructive yes or no to something. A disciplining moment where you're like, no more of this, I'm committed to that. It's a declaration, it's declarative power. So that requires will. It requires being fed up with all the other stuff. But it doesn't require effort, you see. Being frustrated requires zero effort, which is just a lower level version of having used that power of decreeing. It's the initial awakener. So don't deny your frustration. Just make sure you channel it harmoniously. You don't project it onto anybody else. You take that energy of frustration. You know that's because you're feeling a higher potential. You're fed up with not accepting that, accepting lesser beliefs instead. And then that frustration turns into this alchemical, golden quality, this pure energy of transformation and transmutation and transcendence. That requires a moment of will, but it requires no effort. If it takes effort, you haven't decreed something into being yet. So then stop the effort, decree what you want to decree what you want to be true, and then know that because you decreed it in a powerful 10-second window, it has now been called into existence. It is manifest. And then stop the need to see it. Stop the need for it to show up. Don't look for it. Just live your calling until the next decree, and then live your calling. Decide who you are and be done with anything that matches it not, including beliefs and tedious little yes, but, yet, but, doesn't matter. You've declared who you are. Don't even struggle against contradicting beliefs for now. Give them no power. Decreeing is more powerful than even what you believe. And your words are your wand. As I think this lady, I forgot her name. It's one of her books. It's called that way. Your words are your wand. Your words cast spells, essentially. So be impeccable with your words, with what you're decreeing. And always speak from the state of being which knows that whatever you have decreed is true. The power of decreeing, or the art of deliberate assumption, transcends space, time, linearity, and causality. Know this. It even transcends feeling and belief. Take your decree to the level of conviction or knowing, and disregard your opposing beliefs or contradicting feelings. Stop giving them credit and power. Simply know what is true and decree it. Then look to no condition for evidence for or against your decree. Know that beyond space and time, it is now true. And this solves the biggest limiting factor for people's manifestations, which is attachment to the concept that they're creating. And you've all heard this before. You gotta be non-attached to what you're creating if you want to be efficient with it. And the moment you give it up, it starts to come to you. If you really need it, want it, you're attached to it, you're pushing it away. Everyone kind of knows this principle. So why does this solution solve that all the way? It's because you're not thinking about the details of how and when the manifestation are happening, because you decreed it into existence. It's already there. In fact, you don't make it about the manifestation at all. See if you can get this nuance too. Don't make your decreeing about the manifestation at all. Don't let that be your priority, your desire, your focus. Make your only interest this subjective feeling of power and conviction. If you make that attitude, that power your aim in life, instead of what you can manifest or get, you are automatically in a non-attached state, which always works better for manifestation. Because you don't make it about that. You decree something, but what you make it about, what you learn to value and appreciate, is the fact that you decreed it. That's enough for you. Wow, I had a powerful moment, an intent. It felt good. It was aligned to the whole. It was of service to others. It was in functioning with my calling. Felt powerful. It was a surge of liberating energy. I pushed everything else aside, all my doubts, my weaknesses for a moment. And I decreed that a thing is the case. That's what I did it for. I called it into existence and it feels good. And that's now my fuel source. I'm not going to look for evidence because why would I? That level of decreeing is much more valuable and higher. And it already exists. Why would I then go back for the little crumbs? I already created the whole loaf of bread. Why be like, oh, maybe it's manifesting now, or maybe tomorrow, maybe one more technique? Why be a beggar of what you've already created? So you see, so if your attitude shifts from, I want this thing and I want it to materialize and I want the evidence for it too, it felt so good to decree this and to be in harmony with my power and to create entire universes that I might never even see with my physical eyes, but I'm calling them forth for the benefit of all beings. And I know that at some level this exists now. Because of my power, I'm creator. If you make that state what you want, you're automatically non-attached to any of the crumbs that may or may not appear. Who cares? Then you're automatically in a non-resistant, non-attached state. And then life will bring whatever is in alignment with your purpose that can easily come to you because you're not making it about that at all. You're in the receptive state because you don't care about your manifestation. You care about your power to decree, and then therefore it is so. That's your joy. Let your joy be to be a creator, not a manifester. We could make a distinction there. Let your joy and confidence come from, I am a creator. I am a decreer. I call things into existence for the benefit of all, including myself, but the benefit of all. Become a creator, not a manifester. The manifestations will follow, but be a creator first. Feel like the master of the universe. This is the benefit you'll get from playing at this level. The moment you decree it like that, you somehow know that you just performed a miracle. You somehow know that the ocean just split. You may or may not see it with your physical eyes in this particular lifetime. Others may or may not witness it and be able to point it out, but somehow deep inside you, there's this conviction. When you make a powerful decree like that, You know that you moved heaven and earth, you moved mountains, you shifted realities, you changed something, you called something new into being. And that comes with the power of feeling like with a feeling of the power of being master of the universe, being on top of the world, being untouchable, invincible, inconquerable, immortal. That's the feeling you want to have. That's your source of power. Be less and less fascinated with what you have or don't have, so you can transcend this constant drag of cravings. Instead, be interested only in your state of being and the feeling that you are master of the universe. All right, and then there's one more element I wish to add to this, and then I feel complete about the mechanics of manifestation, especially in combination with or harmony with the previous part. The session from 2 weeks ago, which again you can find under Bentinho Live Library inside of Massaro University. Okay, actually one more nuance before I go to this sort of final subchapter that I want to address. One more nuance to everything I just shared is, or addition, you can use the same power for self-realization. Like, I really want you to get out of the headspace that this is about manifesting that car. You can, but it doesn't make a difference. It's the same power. So you can decree, and a lot of the sages have spoken about this, those who are genuinely awakened, they will speak with an awakened sense. They will speak with an empowering sense. They will try to transmute to you the idea that you're infinite power and you're playing it small. So when they say things like, just know that you're not the small self and stay with that, that's that. For instance, know what you are not. So for self-realization, this same power applies. You just decree that it is true. You decree that you're enlightened. Just make sure you don't carry that like a personality around you, because that will be even worse than not decreeing that. But internally, authentically, humbly, but confidently, you decree, I am in truth fully enlightened. And watch what that does to your energies. Watch what that does to your mind. Watch how that begins to awaken you. Versus decreeing, oh, I'm such a small little bundle of thoughts and I just can't get out of this. And enlightenment will never be for me and it's only for those profound few beings. See how different you feel. What happens to your state of consciousness? One leads you to source. Now, it might take some time. It might take repetition. It might take staying with it. It might take staying power. But immediately you can feel that it's liberating you, purifying you. So that's just a nuance, but apply the power of decreeing to enlightenment, to self-realization, to oneness with the whole, to your immortality, to your freedom from all of this. Don't just apply it for the Ferrari. Apply it for your calling in life, your expression in life, and apply it to your true state of freedom, liberation from yourself. Not from your neighbor, not from your oppressors, not from your government. We'll take care of that for you. Don't worry. It's going to happen very soon. All you have to worry about is freedom from yourself. Besides, if you're free from yourself, they have no hold to manipulate you. Your weakness is where you think you are yourself right now. Transcend that. Decree something more powerful. Okay, so then the final subtopic I want to address is, and this again is in line with Neville Goddard's wording of these mechanics, and something that I think he coined it anyway, but it's living in the wish fulfilled. Maybe you've heard this before. And it's the idea of conjuring up a state of being and state of feeling. But again, we know now it's beyond feeling. It's knowing, it's decreeing, it's deciding, it's commanding. It's abracadabra, and so it is. But to cultivate a state of being that carries with it the knowingness, and therefore the feeling, but the knowingness is first, that your wish, whatever that desire or wish is, again in alignment with your calling, otherwise you're resisting yourself, but what that wish is already fulfilled. And it's about cultivating this sort of ongoing state of feeling like what you desire is already the case. But what I just shared, in my opinion, is a more powerful approach to the same mechanism, which is you know that because you decreed it, it already exists. So you don't even have to worry about how you feel on a day-to-day basis. Let it come to you. Let that transform on its own. You just have faith in your decree, know that it is done, and then it shall come. But it's essentially what Neville Goddard is also saying or teaching with this principle. But I want to give a nuance to this idea of living in the wish-fulfilled state. The state, the feeling of your wish fulfilled. What does that feel like? Let's say you do want that red Ferrari, and let's say it is in alignment with your calling and your demonstration to the world of what's possible. Could be. So let's say it's a positive manifestation, and your soul agrees to it. It's relevant for you. And now you have this vision, but you have a bit of a limiting belief about it. And now what you're practicing is, okay, I'm going to visualize, I'm going to feel, imagine, use my imagination to feel what it would feel like. What would it be like if I'd already had that red Ferrari? So you generate that feeling, you can give it detail if you want, to visualize it, all of that. What would it feel like? And then you take that into the present moment, and you basically declare to yourself, this is my feeling now. This is my state now. This has been accomplished. And then you live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. What would it feel like if that wish had been fulfilled already? Maybe even 10 days ago or a year ago. But let's say 10 days ago, you got that Ferrari. How would you feel right now? What would your state be like? And then you stay in that state. It's not about the image of the Ferrari. It's about being in that state of conviction, of confidence, of empowerment. But now I want to apply this to a slightly different concept, same mechanism. And so I've kind of coined this, your destiny fulfilled. So that's the nuance there. It's the same mechanism. But what I found more powerful, again, because it's more holistic, it has less room for your ego to get out of alignment with its own true desire for being here. And that is, instead of doing the wish fulfill of this, and the wish fulfill of the money, and the wish fulfill of the airplane trip, and the wish fulfill of the boyfriend, and the wish fulfill of the house, which is just like all these tempting little things that can make you forget to ask God every day and to orient and focus yourself around, attune yourself around the vibration. Why am I truly here? What's my purest, truest reason for being here? Which is way more powerful and more immortalizing and eternal. And your soul's going to be way happier with that than you asking, hey, what do I want to manifest today? At the end of your life, when you look back, trust me, you're going to be happy that you took my advice on this one. You're going to be happy that you took my advice on this one. Trust me. You might think you know better, but you don't. Feel free to think that, law of confusion and all, but I'm encouraging you to trust me. You will thank yourself for asking the question of source, of God, truly, purely, why am I here? And how can I be the purest, emptiest vessel for that frequency? Over, hey, what do I want to manifest today? Let me try out my power over here. Oh, I'm going to be in a wish fulfilled about that, wish fulfilled about that. So to realign the same mechanism, but make it holistic so that you don't shoot yourself in the foot and regret it at the end of your life, that you could have been more aligned and learned more lessons and decreased the need for further incarnations and allowed yourself to up-level to higher densities. Ask yourself instead, okay, so what am I here for? You don't have to have a picture of that, but everyone has some intuitive sense of this. Some have very clear pictures or visions of it, But even if you do have those, don't be attached to them. Just use them as fuel, as juice. But it's mostly about getting in touch with this core frequency within your soul, within your consciousness of, I am here with deliberate intent. I'm here with a purpose. I'm here with a passion. Get a sense of what that is. You don't have to label it. You don't have to picture it if that doesn't come easily. You just need to tune into it. Be attuned to it. And then ask yourself, what would it feel like if spending my whole life, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, if I felt that destiny, that my whole destiny for this life, my optimal timeline destiny, had been fulfilled. All the manifestations, all the little segments of creation that come with that. Whether it's creating a kingdom with a whole architecture, a new schooling system, a new this and that in government and all that. Whether it is being ambassador of ET Contact, whether it is writing your book and having that message get out there, not to be successful, but you will be successful because that is part of it. But what would it feel like to have your whole destiny fulfilled, to be so fulfilled in looking back on your life 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, and just being so stoked for humanity's entire trajectory? Include the whole of humanity in this, not just your own little book project or your own little creation or your own little country. No, how has this benefited the whole, and how has this brought humanity together with its interstellar consciousnesses and friends and all that? How has it transmuted the entirety? How has it cleaned up the pollution on Earth, energetically and physically? How has it created this new free energy? All that. And what's your part in that? Don't make it about your part even, but just the feeling of that. It's your whole destiny fulfilled. So you go meta. You take the wish fulfilled concept, but you take it meta. What would it feel like if my destiny is fulfilled long term? Like better than I can even imagine. Like this pristine kingdom crossing the entire planet with schools of this nature everywhere, and joy, and children learning this, and materializing things effortlessly out of thin air, interstellar contact, traveling to other dimensions even, and other locations, and portals, and what have you. Get in touch with that feeling, the destiny of humanity, including your own, fulfilled. And suddenly, again, you're like, why am I worried about this little thing? Why am I worried even about the book project? Although that is a part of your calling, maybe. Why am I worried about this car? Although that is part of your calling, maybe. Why am I worried about this partnership and this baby that I want? My whole wish is fulfilled, my whole destiny is fulfilled, and everyone's benefiting and rejoicing. There's so many kids around for me to take care of and learn from and give to. There's so many Ferraris to just freely drive around. In fact, there's only Ferraris at that point, because who wants a fucking Nissan? And if there's no lack and limitation and we've all upgraded, I'll be flying my own fucking UFO to the moon whenever I want to. So be in the destiny fulfilled state. Don't be small. Don't become a worm. You are creator. Don't try to manifest shit. Be the creator. Only thing for you to work on is your purification, your humility with confidence. Not like, oh, thank you. No, humility is powerful. It's genuine. It's pure. Why am I here? That's what your day-to-day focus, your physical ego has to focus on. What am I going to do today or be today that feels in alignment with why I'm truly here? But your metaphysical self can just be in the state of the destiny fulfilled, long-term, spanning decades. Be in that wish-fulfilled state, in the destiny-fulfilled state. And let your confidence inspire your day-to-day actions now. In retrospect, back in space-time linearity where your mind is focused, that's okay, allow that. You're going to be aware of what you need to eat, what you don't need to eat, money, all that stuff. It's going to be a part of your experience. It's not evil. It's not, you got to deal with it. It's okay. But you want to come from an energetic state of being where your destiny is fulfilled. And you know that whatever you decree is true. And why not decree that your destiny is fulfilled? Then you know it is so. Now you have a smile on your face. Your life hasn't changed physically right on the spot. It still appears in the same way. Bank account still shows the same numbers, but you don't give a rat's ass. You really don't care. You're not a victim of your circumstances anymore. You are creator. Destiny fulfilled. It's powerful. And now that energy, how do you think is going to inspire you in that day? Before you were like, oh, counting your money and like, oh, don't disturb me. I don't want to see anybody right now. I feel depressed. My partner is not here. And now you're like, woohoo! I got $10 in my bank account, but my destiny is fulfilled, so I couldn't care less. Where's the next person that I can give a hug and I can have an interesting conversation with? And I can radiate some of this confidence and freedom and conviction and immortality to them with absolutely no agenda because I don't need shit from them because my destiny has been fulfilled and I'm an eternal being. And whatever I decree is true. I don't need anything from anyone or anything. Be creator. Don't be a manifester. It's like, worms are manifestors. Be creator. Be decider. Be decreer. Be like God. Be free now. Stop playing small. So, that's it for today. Transmission complete. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to interact with you. Reza asked, how do you know if something is relevant, manifestable for you? If we can imagine/desire it, is it available in a parallel reality for us? So again, my meta answer to this would be, don't care about the manifestation. Then you will know what is relevant for you because it will manifest, because you're in the best possible state you can be in anyway. So you're not blocking anything with limiting concepts. You're actually living your relevance because you're not worried about manifesting anything. That's the best way to manifest flowy things. But technically, okay, your next question, if we can imagine or desire it, is it available in a parallel reality for us? Anything you desire exists, otherwise you couldn't desire it. You might not see it in your space-time window, but who cares? It's not why you're here. But so technically, yes, whatever you can imagine and desire already exists. Everything already exists. Every possibility you could ever think of already exists. It's just a matter of attuning to that, declaring that it is true, then you're aligned with that reality, and you have the biggest possible probability that it will manifest for you unless it's not relevant for you. So either way, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to keep tabs on your own creation. That would be the worm trying to manifest something. So let's not do that anymore. Milland asks, I don't care about physical manifestations. I do, however, want to manifest energetic states of bliss/joy. Are there any nuances that are different between the two? Yes, I wouldn't frame energetic states of joy or bliss as being manifestations, although technically you could say they are. But I would frame it differently. I would view it differently. I would say, okay, physical manifestations are manifestations because they take some time. But energetic states of bliss, you really want to frame in your own mind. You really want to get that these are choices. So bliss right there. You can choose bliss. And it may feel difficult when you're fully sucked into your personality for a moment, but it doesn't matter. You still want to begin to adopt the framework that it is ultimately by choice that you can activate those higher states because they already exist. They don't need to manifest like physical reality appears to linearly manifest. So energetic states of ecstasy, joy, bliss, love, these already exist. They're already manifest. They're just hiding from you by your choice to identify with something small. And I wouldn't even make them too specific myself. You can do that if that serves you right now in your phase. But in general, I would say, don't try to necessarily, you can do it sometimes. It's useful, don't get me wrong. But I think overall, there's a more useful way than, picking like a precise frequency state and sort of nitpicking, like, okay, I want joy with like a little hint of cinnamon and ecstasy. And then try to like cultivate that. It's okay, like it's a good practice, again. It's a far better practice than what most people are doing with their day-to-day consciousness. So by all means, practice that. But I would say that on the whole, to keep it holistic and non-distracted and simple and effortless and powerful, if you do what I shared in this session today, if you really re-listen to this, integrate it, you learn to decree that I am bliss. You don't even have to believe it. You don't even have to feel it. Remember, don't look for evidence. Not even in what you believe, not even in what you feel. You just decree powerfully. Say no to everything else for a moment. Split the ocean of doubt and walk straight through the vacuum of infinite possibilities. And there you declare, I am bliss. Hold that power for 10 seconds. And then whatever happens, happens. Go about your life. Focus on why are you here. Same with destiny fulfilled. If you're tapped into that, I guarantee you'll feel bliss. You'll feel joy. You'll feel expansion. You don't have to make it specific. It doesn't have to be specifically bliss, because these are all facets of the same diamond of God. It's just you being an open channel to God, letting that come through. So whatever activates that open channel for you, then you're in what you want to experience. And we all want, that's what we are craving. The whole system is deprived of God energy. So when we feel God energy, we call it bliss, we call it ecstasy, we call it love, we call it joy, we call it supreme compassion, we call it eternity. But that's just what it is. It's us being open to the reality of what we are. And I'm saying you can use the power of declaration, of no more bullshit. This is true. And tapping into your destiny fulfilled imagination. And then knowing that that is true, that that is done. And then living accordingly, your passion. You will be consistently connected to that energy. It will charge you up more and more. The body will become empowered and enlightened and raise its frequency, which is not what you're doing it for. It's a side effect. Don't keep tabs on your creation because you're not a manifester. You're the creator. What you decide is true. Keep deciding, and soon bliss will be easy for you. Even when you're depressed, you can have a depressive moment and you can switch it to bliss just like that. I promise. These two states completely coexist. It's just a different view. Hey, what the fuck? It's like flipping a switch. They coexist. So flip the switch. But you got to believe that you can do this, and then you got to practice that a few times, but you'll get the evidence for it. And then less and less it'll make sense for you to go to the depressive states. And more confidence and conviction and decreeing will happen from that bliss state, living your destiny fulfilled energy.
Thank you for watching this Bentinho live session. Bentinho now hosts these transformative live sessions completely free, offering profound insights and guidance to support your journey. To attend the next live session with Bentinho, simply visit massaro.university and follow the instructions to create your free account.